Have you ever stayed with someone who made you feel like shit and you honestly couldn't explain why? You tell yourself it's over. You block them, you delete the pictures. You swear this is the last time you'll ever let them back into your life. And for a moment, you actually believe it. Then the silence hits. And the silence doesn't feel peaceful. It feels wrong. It feels empty. It feels like withdrawal. Your mind starts whispering little what-ifs. What if they apologize? What if they actually changed? What if I gave up too soon? And right when those thoughts hit their peak, your phone lights up. Hey, miss you. Or the classic, I've been doing a lot of thinking. 2 or 3 little words, and suddenly your chest tightens, your stomach drops, and your brain lights up like it's been waiting for this moment. Because the same person who hurts you the most now feels like the only person who can make the pain stop. It makes no sense logically, and yet, emotionally, it hits like a drug. That's the part you can't explain. Why the good people feel flat and the toxic ones feel electric. Why calm feels boring and chaos feels alive. Why peace feels unfamiliar and pain feels like home. But here's the truth. A truth that is scientific, biological, and brutally honest. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because your brain was built to bond with intensity, not safety. Let's break that open. Trauma bonding. A term first described by psychologist Patrick Carnes, but you don't need a textbook to understand it. You've lived it. Your brain is wired to attach to the people who trigger the strongest emotional reactions. Not the healthiest reactions, the strongest ones. When someone is warm one day and cold the next, your nervous system doesn't see inconsistency. It sees danger. It sees high stakes. It sees a situation that demands your full attention. And when that person finally gives you affection again after pulling away, your brain rewards you, floods you with dopamine. Relief. Euphoria. Something that feels like love, but is chemically closer to a hit. And here's the part most people never hear. That dopamine spike is stronger than the dopamine you get in a stable, healthy relationship. Because your brain wasn't designed to reward peace. It was designed to reward survival. Intensity feels like survival. Chaos feels like survival. Now, let's talk about the loop that keeps you coming back. Intermittent reinforcement. B.F. Skinner discovered that if you reward something unpredictably, randomly, at uneven intervals, you create the strongest form of psychological addiction known to science. Casinos use it. Social media uses it. Abusive partners use it without even knowing they're using it. When someone switches between affection and neglect, kindness and cruelty, commitment and distance, your brain stays locked in a constant cycle of anticipation. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to the unpredictability. Every time they withdraw, your dopamine drops. Every time they return, your dopamine surges. And your brain starts to chase the high, not the relationship. The nucleus accumbens, your reward center, lights up. The ventral tegmental area fires. Your brain patterns look almost identical to that of someone addicted to cocaine. Same reward loops, same withdrawal symptoms, same craving. And while all this is happening, another chemical is building inside you. Cortisol, the stress hormone. In a chaotic relationship, cortisol doesn't spike occasionally. It stays high. Constant tension. Constant uncertainty, constant adrenaline. Your body adapts to that stress. It gets used to it, comfortable with it, dependent on it. This is called cortisol conditioning. Your body becomes so familiar with anxiety, that calm feels unsafe. You know that feeling, when someone treats you well and your brain goes, something's off. This doesn't feel right. That's not intuition, that's chemistry. Safe people feel boring, because your nervous system has been conditioned to seek the adrenaline rush of unpredictability. Now add attachment theory to the mix. Your relationship blueprint was written long before adulthood. John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth showed that if love in your childhood was inconsistent, sometimes nurturing, sometimes rejecting, your brain learned a rule. Love is something you chase. Love is something you earn. Love is something you fight for. So when you meet someone who recreates that emotional pattern, your brain doesn't scream danger. It whispers, this feels familiar. It whispers, this must be love. Your conscious mind knows they're bad for you, but your unconscious wiring sees a pattern it recognizes. and calls it home. And here's where it gets even more twisted. Your brain doesn't just recognize the pattern, it craves it. Because familiar pain feels more manageable than unfamiliar peace. Think about that for a second. Your nervous system would rather stay in a cycle of hurt that it understands than risk the vulnerability of something good that it doesn't. Because at least you know how to survive the pain. You've done it before. You have strategies, defense mechanisms, ways to cope. But real love, real stability, that's uncharted territory. That requires you to let your guard down, to trust, to believe you're worthy of something that doesn't hurt. And for a brain wired in chaos, that feels like walking off a cliff. Now let's talk about memory, the silent manipulator behind all of this. Your brain does not store all moments equally. It prioritizes intensity, emotion, impact. So the fights, the screaming, the breakups, the reconciliations, they get burned into your memory in high definition. But the quiet moments with someone kind, the soft days with someone stable, your brain barely records them. They don't feel significant. They don't feel intense. They don't feel worthy of storage. So when you look back, you remember the fireworks, not the damage. You remember the adrenaline, not the exhaustion. You remember the highs, not the cost of the highs. And then your brain lies to you. It tells you that was love, but it wasn't love. It was a neurological loop, a chemical dependency disguised as connection. Researchers have actually studied this. Brain scans of people going through breakups with toxic partners show activity in the same regions that light up during drug withdrawal. The anterior cingulate cortex, the area that processes physical pain, fires when you're separated from them. Your brain is literally treating their absence like a wound, like something is being ripped from your body. That's why no contact feels impossible. That's why blocking them feels like cutting off a limb. That's why every fiber of your being screams to reach out, even when you know they're poison. You're not weak. You're in withdrawal. Let me give you an image, something you'll never forget. Picture your brain as a casino. Noise everywhere, lights, chaos. And in the center, one slot machine, the one that almost never pays out. That's them. That's the person who hurts you. Every pull costs you something. Time, energy, hope. But once in a while, it pays out. Just enough to keep you hooked. Just enough to keep you playing. And that tiny reward, that rare jackpot, feels bigger than anything a stable relationship could ever give you. It's not real connection. It's not real compatibility. It's not real love. It's a psychological trap, a loop, a cycle. And once you're in it, you can't think straight. Your body treats leaving them like a life or death threat. Because on some level, pain feels predictable. Predictable pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. This is the part that keeps people stuck for years, decades even. They know the relationship is toxic. They know they deserve better. But their nervous system is running the show. And their nervous system is telling them that staying in familiar pain is less terrifying than stepping into the unknown. But here's the part that should hit you the hardest. You didn't choose this pattern. It was programmed into you by your environment, by your experiences, by your chemistry. You're not broken. You were conditioned. And conditioning can be undone. Once you understand the pattern, you start to break the spell. You stop blaming yourself. You stop thinking the intensity was love. You stop confusing adrenaline with connection. You begin choosing peace, even when it feels wrong at first. Calm feels empty at the beginning because your brain is detoxing, your chemistry is recalibrating. But slowly, your nervous system adjusts. Your dopamine levels stabilize. Your cortisol drops. Your heart rate slows. And one day, peace doesn't feel boring anymore. It feels like relief. It feels like clarity. It feels like home. This is the rewiring process. And it's not fast. It's not easy because you're undoing years of neural programming. You're teaching your brain that safety isn't a threat, that consistency isn't boring, that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. But every time you choose differently, every time you walk away from the chaos and sit with the discomfort of peace, you're building new pathways. You're creating new patterns. You're proving to your nervous system that you can survive without the drug. And eventually, the cravings fade. The obsession loosens. The hold they had on you dissolves. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally understood what you were actually addicted to. And it wasn't them. It was never them. It was the chemicals, the cycle, the familiarity of pain. You're not broken, you're rewiring. And anyone can rewire, even you. Now that you understand why your brain bonds with pain, wait until you hear why it chases self-sabotage. Because the same circuitry that kept you attached to someone who hurt you is the same circuitry that makes you destroy good things before they can destroy you. And once you see that pattern, everything changes.